think those two things are mutually exclusive.
Nope.
I'm not a scientist, but I feel like those are related.
Nope.
Today's episode is made possible by our therapy partners, Dirty B, Myra, and Pickett. From fabulous Las Vegas, Nevada. This is Pod Therapy, real people, real problems, and real therapists. You can submit your questions anonymously at podtherapy.net or email us at podtherapyguys@gmail.com. Broadcasting from the churn, that's Jim. I'm Nick. It's time for some Pod Therapy.
So the state that I probably like the least in America.
Okay.
Oh, boy. Okay, my drive through Louisiana was awful, and I just want to point that out. But I also feel like I
don't
shouldn't...
think you can count states that you've just driven through.
I agree. I feel like that is not enough of a sample size.
Yeah.
I didn't enjoy a city there. Obviously, they don't have to pave every square inch of their state.
Yeah.
That doesn't make any sense. So if they enjoy their wilderness, they can allow their wilderness to flourish. I'm fine with that. But I don't know. I feel like just really cold places are awful. So Illinois is probably pretty up there, dude. Chicago's gross. Do not care for that city. It's a great place to get murdered.
Chicago's wonderful.
No.
Chicago's just great.
Nope. It's gross. It's just terrible. I don't think I like big cities as a general rule. And then it was stupid cold up there. Like just unforgiving cold.
It is very cold in Chicago winter.
Just pain.
That whole windy city thing.
Yeah.
That wind mixed with cold is a tough combo.
All right. So, Jim, the Instagram, the Joyful Travelista.
Okay, this is your friend who's
This is my sister's friend from high school, Kristen, and she is currently in Antarctica.
Wow!
All right, Travelista, the Joyful Travelista.
If you can get her to answer questions,
if you follow her, please tell her Nick Tangeman sent you.
Yeah, would she know who you are?
Oh yeah.
Okay. Oh yeah. I'm that guy from Pod Therapy.
No, dude.
Everybody knows who I am.
I had 68 people in my graduating class.
Oh, this is a good point.
We know each other.
Fair enough. Yeah, this is.
I'll do you one better. I would like to see. I would like to get her on as a guest.
Oh, that'd be fun.
Just to educate you.
Oh yeah, that'd be great.
Antarctica.
Educate me. Educate all of us. Don't act like you guys are fucking scholars in Antarctica.
Okay, fair.
Fair. You explained something to me, and it clicked, and I got it. We're good.
Eventually.
We're fine.
He came around.
I didn't fight you on it. I mean,
let's roll back the tape.
It's how I learn. I need you to overcome my objections, and then I accept it. We're good. We're on the same page now. I accept that Antarctica exists.
Okay.
We're on the same page.
Fair enough.
If you'd like to learn about which state Nick hates, patreon.com/therapy.
Yeah, you got to pay for that.
You got to pay for that. He doesn't just throw that out there.
Nope.
He doesn't want to make more enemies. Can't afford that. But good episode for it. So come check it out. Hang with us in the pre-show. Always a good time. We've got some great questions this week and a Whitney-free episode. Woo! Oh, thank God. Finally. Take off these pants. He's wearing bow ties. Sick of dressing up for this fucking show. Social cues from Anonymous.
Yeah, you're wearing your casual Crocs.
Yeah,
today.
my casual. No, these are my fancy Crocs. Remember, these are my going out Crocs with my fur inliner there, with my wool socks. I'm a happy camper.
You are.
Hey everyone, what is the best way?
I'm just trying to think if Jim were not married.
Yeah.
What are the odds that Jim could get married?
They are very low.
Oh,
I think
God,
they're
I don't know.
extremely
That is
low.
an interesting thought experiment. Like if we were his wingmen.
Yeah.
Like
what would it take?
I don't know what I would do.
I think you would just shove
start?
money in my pants. I think there's just money hanging out of his fly.
Like, would we just
shot.
drug like potential victims for him?
Oh wow. Yeah, going full Cosby on this.
No, I mean for some
I don't know how else to do it.
For some guys, it's really like just a fashion makeover. Let's get you a nice suit. Let's get you cleaned up. Let's get you a haircut.
Which that's part of it. We got to do that.
It's
that's
definitely
happen.
something's going to happen with the mustache. But
I mean, come on, I've come a long way.
I think with Jim, forget everything else.
Yeah,
you just need to put every dollar you have into a sports car.
Okay, just go hard on the
the
best possible car
and
never get out of that car.
Don't get out of it. Never get out of that car.
Only pick up on chicks in drive-thrus.
You can roll down the window. Do not get out.
Sir, are you coming through this drive-thru again? Yeah, just more fries, please. Anyway, you were saying, where'd you grow up? What was it? Oh, yeah, families. Okay, bye.
I think you're not terribly wrong, but I'd make one small adjustment.
Okay.
I think Jim would have to spend every single dime he has ever earned on shutting the fuck up.
That would, yeah.
I think that's our only hope.
Maybe I just learned sign language
and he's a
that's
mute.
The bit. Yeah, the bit is I lost my tongue in the war.
Yeah, I don't want you to do sign language either. I don't want you just transferring over to a different language.
Communicate.
Yeah.
It'll be better that way. Okay, these are good notes, guys. Thanks. Hey everyone, what is the best way?
The women could describe him as like, oh, he's so mysterious.
Yeah, that's the only way I'm going to make it.
Mysterious is our only.
Yeah,
that's the only way we're winning this game.
And then we delete this podcast forever. I think that's got to go first. That's like the number one thing that's got to go. Hey everyone, what is the best way to deal with a coworker who does not understand social cues or etiquette? Quick backstory, while I am a licensed therapist...
This is from Nick.
It is. I'm a licensed therapist on a podcast. Quick backstory, I'm a licensed therapist. I work a part-time job in local government. Since being a therapist...
It is from Nick.
It is. Honestly, this is getting weird. I work a part-time job in local government. Since being a therapist, even with a full-time caseload, doesn't exactly pay the bills. I roll. I have had this part-time job since I graduated undergrad 6 years ago and genuinely enjoyed it. There are only 9 employees split between the 3 departments. As of right now, I am the only one on the more office side, and the majority of my work is done remotely. The more physical labor group of employees are in and out of the office regularly and consist of a supervisor who has hired a few younger guys, all of which in some way have an intellectual disability. He is awesome with them all, and for the most part, it's a great mix. The problems start when one of the guys comes in and starts conversations. He does not understand any form of social cues or etiquette, and does not at all get the hint when we try to end the conversations. Like, he will open my door if I close it and start conversations. Even mentioning I have a lot of work to do, his boss may be looking for him, stuff like that, does nothing. This has been going on for a while, but has recently become more of a problem as the content of the conversations has shifted. He tells us all about his love and sex life, family trauma, etc. Everyone is pretty uncomfortable with it, but does a good job being kind, but ignoring it. Today it reached a new level as he proceeded to tell me in detail at about 7 a.m. how he is going to binge drink to blacking out this weekend as it is the anniversary of his father's death. I was responding in a very friendly way, but I was not looking up from my laptop, keeping typing and generally doing everything I could to end the conversation prior to him stating this. After that comment, I was dumbfounded and finally looked up. I'm well aware of what I would do in a therapeutic setting, but I'm not his therapist and frankly have no interest in dealing with this when I'm off the clock. His department head knows, but brushes it off as our issues that we're annoyed with him versus an issue itself. The big boss knows. He does this to her as well, or the big boss knows, and he does this to her to some extent. It annoys the snot out of her too. My coworkers are looking to me, since I'm a therapist, to help give them pointers on how to still be nice and kind, but get the message of please leave us alone across. I'm at a loss. I'm also trying to navigate being a therapist who's off the clock in situations like this. I look forward to hearing your responses. Thanks. Anonymous, pronouns are she and her. And if I hear this question right, I don't know if you guys heard it the same way. I think the gentleman that is doing this does have a mental disability.
That's what I was reading back to see if I could, some ways have an intellectual disability.
Yeah, the writer says that there's a leader who specifically has hired some gentlemen who have a disability. They do a lot of labor work. It's good. Everybody likes this. One of these particular workers is really bad at reading social cues, is boundary crossing with content, is oversharing. Everybody's trying to show all those natural suggestions of okay, dude, move along. No, and he's not picking up on it. Mm-hmm. That seems to be it. Otherwise, I don't think the writer would have brought up that that was even a context.
Now, one thing
I guess
that I would want to point out here, and we'll kind of get to the larger issue in a second, but you're dealing with what I think most of us deal with, being a therapist.
Oh, yeah.
And when other people know that we're a therapist.
Right. The off the clock phenomenon.
Exactly. And because you're never off the clock. Because it's
Right.
like as soon as someone finds out that you're a therapist, then the conversation all of a sudden switches.
Yeah.
And then you kind of start talking about all these other things, which for the most part for me, it doesn't really bother me.
Yeah.
I don't really care. It's
But
not
people
that big
will
a deal.
ask you a question like,
but
how
yes,
should I do this? What should I do here? And you're like, I don't want to.
Like I'll run into people and we'll be talking and something like it comes up and, like, oh, what do you do? Oh, yeah, I went to therapy and we kind of have this conversation.
Sure.
It's usually a fine conversation. No problem with it. It becomes a different issue than when it's like, oh, what do I do in this situation? And then, how do I do this? And then it's like, okay, well, now like I'm doing.
I have a podcast.
Now
right
you're
in.
doing.
Yeah.
Now you're making me do work.
Right.
Like that's a whole different thing.
Right. You're an addictions therapist? I'm on heroin right now. That's
Yeah.
so cool.
I can quit at any time.
I can quit anytime. You know what I mean? You know what I mean?
And so that does. I empathize with you in that position, and being in another job where you're not a therapist, but people know you are,
Right.
and now have an expectation of you. And so my immediate reaction to this is that's not your job,
Right.
and you don't have to do anything with that.
Yeah.
Now the
My
challenge
industry,
is that
for the phrase is not my circus, not my monkeys.
yep, exactly. Unfortunately, you're kind of in a situation where you have to kind of deal with it, or
It
do
is
something
kind of
with
your
it.
circus,
because,
and those are kind of your monkeys.
yeah, because
This monkey is shitting on your desk.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's right there.
Unfortunately, it's now your problem.
Yeah. So getting to the larger issue, how do you deal with this situation? Well, this to me, like, unless your job is HR, unless you're the HR director, you do something like this doesn't seem like this is your job.
Yeah.
This is something that you report to that individual's direct supervisor.
It's a government job.
Or,
where's the HR?
yeah, somebody needs to be responsible to this. And it frustrates me that they have gone this route and no one's doing anything about it.
Right.
And they're just saying like, you just need to deal with him. And
Right.
well, no, he's talking about his love and sex life to his
Yeah.
coworkers, making his coworkers uncomfortable.
Yeah.
If I was an HR person, I'm thinking like, okay, how do we deal with this without there being a sexual harassment,
Yeah.
something filed, or a complaint, a lawsuit? Like, I'm trying to put this fire out. So the fact that they're trying to convince you that there's no fire
Right.
is frustrating.
Yeah, that's a weird place to be in. But I mean, I do appreciate why this situation is complex because, I don't know if either of you, Jacob or Nick, have had opportunity in your life to ever, like, kind of in a prolonged way, interact with somebody who is intellectually disabled. We grew up with a friend who was, and was in our general social group of like the youth group at church kind of thing. So we always saw him. He went to all of our summer and winter camps. We saw him every single week. He was in our little group of like same aged boys. And so we went to sleepovers and he was there and like, he was part of us. Right. And so he would say all sorts of really off things. And, as a teenage boy himself, I think trying to read social cues or trying to relate to topics that he thinks we are interested in or whatever, he would overstep, right? And say all sorts of weird stuff. Or sometimes we'd be hanging out with the girls and we're all teenage boys. We're trying to be flirty and chatty with these girls. And, he's participating in that, but then overstepping and over complimenting or whatever. And so to some extent, I do understand that there is, and I don't think an inappropriate social expectation to give much longer leash on this.
Sure.
Like if our friends, sometimes we would welcome new people to the little groups or whatever, or, a girl would bring a friend from school or whatever. And this kid, his name was Nick.
Of course it was.
Of course it was. Yeah. But Nick would, say something inappropriate or whatever. And we'd get upset if the new person like rolled their eyes or like got offended. We'd be like, hey, clearly he's not, let it go. Like if you're that sensitive, we're not on your side, like he deserves to be here. You're going to have to get a thicker skin or get the fuck out. That was, we were really protective of him at some point. So like I can kind of understand.
Well, it is like adults have to be responsible for themselves,
Right.
But there are some adults, like your friend,
Right.
who are not capable of being responsible for themselves 100%.
We've got to cut some slack.
You gotta be understanding.
So I kind of understand how this situation gets more complicated because I get it.
Yeah,
Like
no.
you and your coworkers are sort of
Yes.
like, all right, just let it go. Like,
But
let's just get
the
this
flip
done.
side of that is if the person
getting
who
worse.
is not able to be responsible for themselves, if they are doing harm to you,
Right.
which like making your workplace not pleasant to be in is
Right.
doing some harm to you,
Yeah.
then I mean you got to deal with it. You got to figure out a way to deal with it. You can be understanding with it, but you still have to figure out a way to fix the problem.
And my point wasn't that he needs to change his behavior.
Right.
My point is that if we're talking about an intellectual disability, what he needs coaching. He
Right.
needs teaching.
Yeah.
Somebody needs to do that, and it's not the writer's responsibility to do
Yes.
that. And then that's why I'm saying like this should be something where that person's direct supervisor can get involved and can actually, take some time and say, hey, like we need to work on how to communicate with people.
Yeah.
We need to have a conversation about what things we can talk about and are appropriate to talk about in an office
Yeah.
and what things are not appropriate.
There's got to be some coaching.
And then, and I think that's what this person needs is he needs coaching. He needs somebody to like walk him through some of this.
Yeah.
Everybody in the office can be patient and can be understanding of the
Right.
situation. But he needs help, and it's not the writer's responsibility. That's the thing that I empathize with the writer because it's like you're kind of stuck in the situation where like, he needs help.
Right.
You're a trained therapist. You know that you could do it,
Right.
but this isn't your job.
Well, and then it becomes
no
your
one else.
job.
Yeah, and then no one else is stepping up to the plate.
right.
Like that's the thing.
Well, the
that's
failure is
frustrating.
the supervisor, the
Absolutely.
direct supervisor who obviously has enough rapport with his crew that he can give them orders. He can tell them he can train them how to do a job and say, this is the right and wrong way to do this. These are my expectations. This is how you check in. This is how you report. This is where you go. Clearly, there is plenty of communication for these to be effective people in the workplace. And this is where they've dropped, or the director, I think, or the supervisor dropped the ball, because if you have the ability to communicate with your team, then you should be the one, who goes to them and says, hey, Michael, let me chat with you for a second. When the ladies' doors are closed, do not open that.
Mm-hmm.
And most people that have lived with an intellectual disability, they are absolutely used to somebody explaining something to them.
Mm-hmm.
They notice that this is the cadence of, hey, I'm just going to explain something to you. Please listen.
Mm-hmm.
And they generally go, okay, thank you. And that's it. And they're this is not the first time. They're an adult.
Yeah.
It's happened in their lives that somebody has said, when you see this circumstance, behave this way. And that can just be, do not talk about drinking alcohol anymore with our colleagues. Or if you do, it's only with the boys in your department, please. We don't talk about our dating lives with the girls. Here's the deal. If you leave your department, don't talk about your personal life.
Right.
Period.
Well, and I think examples need to be set.
Right.
Because here's the other thing is you can't tell this worker, hey, we don't talk about sex,
Right.
we don't talk about dating, we don't talk about these things at the office, and then you turn around and then you're talking to other coworkers about
Right.
those exact same topics.
Right.
So there has to be some modeling, I think, with a lot of this. But yeah, I think, and if the supervisor is feeling like this is outside of his or her wheelhouse, and it's
Sure.
outside of their control, and they need help, then they should ask for help, and somebody higher up should respond to this.
Well, and another move that I think we haven't explored, but I do think exists, there, like in Las Vegas, we have a designated charity, and it is Opportunity Village, and it is a very well-developed organization.
Great organization.
It's got a store attached to it, a living center and community, and persons who are intellectually disabled go there, they work there, there's a whole community, they do a lot of social stuff. And what's really neat about that organization is it also provides a public education service where if you do have questions about how can I best serve this community, or here's a situation we're having at work, you can call this organization and they will coach you, or say, hey, we do consulting as well. Would your organization like to invite us to do a special training or,
Right.
Things like that? And they can really help you know, here's the right way to handle this, right? And I think that I love deferring to experts who work with specific populations because I think they know the right thing to do. But, one of the things that I remember happening with our teenage friend was that he got the most positive affirmation and felt the most included in the boys' group when he would say something gross. And so he quickly figured it out. Like, if I joke about girls being hot or something like that, these other teenage boys are like, oh, dude, come here, Nick, say that again. I think she has a really cute butt. And he's like, oh, you heard it right. That's awesome, Nick. Who else do you think has a cute butt? And like, he would get all this affirmation.
Right, you're training him what to do.
Exactly. Right. And so especially in male culture, which already tends toward the toxic,
no one in this room.
Not in this room, no.
But yeah.
I think we are the upper crust of class.
I think you both have very cute butts.
Wow, thank
like
you.
we said.
I think your hiney is exquisite.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah.
It is.
Also, could you bring that ashtray over here for my cigarette on a stick that I have?
Cigarette holder.
Is that what it is? So it's called cigarettes.
Hold cigarettes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They don't call it a cigarette stick?
They don't.
Also, who smokes? I mean, at this point.
Apparently you. But only with a cigarette stick.
You don't have a sign? I mean, I looked for a sign. Those cigarettes, it's free country. This is Nevada. I believe there's indoor smoking. Anyway, I think that all this makes it a lot harder for that department and for this individual. And also, I just want to add that context to you, writer, because I think that adds a little bit more light to how this happens, especially for intellectually disabled men, when they're trying to interact with other men. It tends to digress into, just the lowest forms of male humor and, kind of content. And I just think that they start to pick up on, this is how I fit in. Mm-hmm. I can be a grunty dude and people will chuckle and pat me on the back and send me on my way. And this is how I'm part of the conversation. And I have something I can relate to, right? You drink, I drink. Great. That's something we relate to, or sex or whatever. So,
yeah. I mean, in the short term, some little things that I think you can do. I'm sure you've probably already tried some of this. I don't want to insult your intelligence. You're a trained therapist. I know you can try some of this stuff, but
also you're listening to Pod Therapy, so let's set that bar a lot lower.
True.
Okay,
That's true.
Grain of salt.
You're slumming it over here with us. You know who you are.
But like I'm trying to think of things that I would do in this particular situation. I think I would, set some boundaries, but be kind with those boundaries and just say, hey, Jim, remember I told you the door's closed. So when the door's closed, you can't come in here.
Yeah.
But then also I would say, I would set a time later. My door will probably be open this afternoon. Yeah. So if you want to stop by this afternoon, please come back and talk. But right now the door's closed.
Yeah.
And just really enforce that. And it's like, oh, but real quick, I just need to tell you, no.
Nope, door's closed.
Door's closed.
Yeah.
Come back later.
Yeah.
Is it an emergency?
Right.
Yeah. Okay. Then the door's closed.
I also think the intellectually disabled, I think, often do struggle to just pick up on the subtlety of social cues. Mm-hmm. And that's a very broad thing that happens with a lot of different demographics.
Mm-hmm. So does Jim.
Yeah, I also struggle with it, honestly. But another thing, too, is that I feel like sending the intellectually disabled the social cue of ignoring them or not making eye contact or not engaging with them when they're talking about something that makes you uncomfortable, they extra don't pick up on that because they are used to that response in all settings by all people.
Oh, interesting.
If they are just talking about their cat, people are like, oh, and like looking away, trying not to like stare, trying not to engage. A lot of people, because of their discomfort, that human has almost always lived in an ecosystem where that is a vibe that they're getting. And so at this point, they have learned that if you're going to make a friend or you're going to have any contact with others at all, either you need to ignore that or you've become blind to that. And you just bulldoze forward because the only time that you really connect with people when you're in that demographic is when you, march, you move forward, you make contact, you initiate, and then some people reciprocate and you make a friend. So I just want to point that out too, because, I don't know that this, I just want to chalk this up to ineptitude, and I don't hear you saying that in the letter. I hear you being very kind in the letter. But I just want to point that out too, because it is a very unique life experience. And I think one of the things I remember just from growing up with a boy was how often we would notice, because we grew up with him, so we were pretty comfortable just standing next to him and chatting with him. We're just used to it. We just had logged enough hours, right? But we would notice when we'd hang out with camp counselors or we'd meet other adults or whatever, or just other people, they wouldn't be. They were very uncomfortable and they didn't know what to do because they were afraid of being rude or they're afraid of inviting too much of his attention because he could be a bulldog, a little too intense. He'd be excited to talk to people. And then they didn't know what to do and they'd feel cornered. Whereas we knew how to shut him down just because we were his friends. We knew him for a really long time. So
Yeah.
it is a tough thing.
That's insightful.
Yeah, thanks. If there's an HR department, though, if that has not already been something where there's been some contact initiated, I mean, it's a government organization. Unless you're part of some, like the government of some bullshit place like, Louisiana, then they should have some civilized way to deal with
Napoleonic government, man. They don't fuck around.
They do not fuck around. God, that movie was so bad. Just so bad. Anyway.
No, a lot of Louisiana's laws are still based on Napoleonic code.
I'm fine with the code, Jake.
Yeah.
But the Joaquin Phoenix movie
Nobody
sucked.
brought up the movie.
I did. It's just awkward sex.
He's looking for any
All
opportunity
this
he can
He
to
really
talk about
is.
that movie.
It was so bad.
No one's ever asked him about it.
Yeah.
You
It
bring
just
it up.
doesn't come up. Yeah, sir, would you like fries with that? God, it was just such a bad film. I mean, just awkward sex the whole time. Ryder, thank you so much for that one. Good luck on this. Update us. We always like to find out what ended up being a solution and kind of learn from it. We love to spread the news to other people so they can learn from it as well. We're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we're going to talk about dealing with delusions. You're listening to Pod Therapy.
Today's episode is brought to you by Smitty Scoop, Nathan's Hot Dog Scoop, Mason Miller, Tess Miller, Byler T, Paris, Team Monaco, Oscar Swanros, and Hannah Marie. And if you want to sponsor the show, become a therapy producer by going over to patreon.com/therapy and signing up.
All right, people, we are playing Family Feud. I'm Steve Harvey. I'll be your host today, and we're going to see...
Steve Harvey has a much better mustache.
Oh, fuck both of you. That's,
It was a race to that one. We were both trying to come up with
no
best
points. You get the X on that one. All right, everybody knows the rules
Somehow
of the
Steve
game.
Harvey has better hair than you, too.
You are going to get, and he dresses wonderfully.
He dresses a lot. He dresses better than any of us.
I think he's just a better man than I am. It's weird that he gets to host that show and I don't. All right, he's on that show. I'm on the show. So we are going to go through some categories here, and whichever one of you ends up with the better average of answers out of the 6 that the survey says, you will win the round. The first one is going to go to Nick because fuck you, Jacob. You made fun of me first. And today's topic is name a fictional character who has great strength. Remember, if you get it wrong, you get an X. If you get 3 X's, you are disqualified.
And how many are on the board?
6.
Okay.
It's 6 answers, survey says.
Fictional
So,
character, great strength.
fictional answer with great strength. If you get the number 1 answer, I feel like you just automatically win that round.
Okay.
Nick, start us off.
Hercules.
Hercules, survey says, bing, number 2.
Oh.
Picks up Hercules, and we're going to pass it over to Jacob. Let's
I'm
see
gonna
if he
say-
can take a swing.
Superman.
Number 1!
God damn
the
it.
Man of Steel. We would have also accepted Spider-Man.
That's not fictional.
Incredible Hulk,
What do you mean it's not fictional?
He-Man, and
Superman's real.
Popeye. And we're gonna
Popeye.
start
Oh
again.
my!
Popeye
we wouldn't have
would've
gotten to.
gotten
No.
We would have run
I
into
would've-
a
yeah.
brick wall after
Yeah,
those
yeah,
two
yeah.
I would have
answers.
gone through like 5 Greek gods before I got
before
to
you
Popeye.
ever got to him. Second
I
category.
would have at least hit up Samson first.
Yeah.
That's true.
Yeah.
We will start with Jacob on this one. Name something the family takes turns using.
Mom's butthole.
There it is. And number 6.
There we go.
Survey says.
Number 6 and 9.
And
Family takes turns using. Let's see. I'm gonna say the bathroom, Steve. The bathroom.
number 1 again. This guy.
Ow!
He cannot
Ow!
be
Damn.
stopped.
You can only hope to contain him.
Oh my God.
Jacob has not lost touch with the common man.
He knows.
That's right.
We would have also accepted car, phone, computer, TV, and
See, I was going to guess car. That would've been my-
Damn. All right, turning
Soap?
back over to Nick. Yeah, take
Soap?
soap. You bar of soap. You take turns using that.
I guess.
Shouldn't use it simultaneously.
You shouldn't return it after you use it, though.
Yep. Starting with Nick, third category. Name something magicians try to escape from.
Straight jacket.
Oh, pretty good.
Straight jacket is number 5.
Number
Very
5.
good. Survey
Oh.
says number 5.
Family Feud bits on their podcast.
Ooh, there it is. Not on the list.
Interesting,
this time.
interesting.
Yeah, swing and a miss.
Can I just say like a box? You know, like a. I don't know how
You
else
can
to
say whatever you
like,
want, my man, but
like
I'm going with the
boxes
letter
or
of the law.
props or yeah, I mean, 'cause like all of those, like saw a lady in half. Like those, they're called boxes. Like you have the boxes there. Let's see.
Let's check this. You want to go with box?
No.
Okay.
Let's see. Handcuffs.
God damn it!
Handcuffs is number 4.
Oh, wow.
Takes one step above
Okay.
Nick.
Okay, well, I'll go with
5
box.
and 4 are off the list. You're going with box?
I'm going with
Gonna
box.
Steal for box? And that's your first X. Box
All right.
is not on the survey.
Gamesmanship. I planted
Handcuffs
that idea.
and
in Nick's head.
straitjacket have been taken.
Inception.
Yeah, he's so
Incepted
deep. The
Nick.
psychological warfare he is into.
Let's see. I will go with
4 and 5 are off the list.
I'll go with a Houdini answer, and I will say milk jug.
Milk jug is not on the list.
Okay.
That is a strike. So we
All
got
right.
one strike each. 4 and 5 are off with handcuffs and straitjacket. We are naming things magicians try to escape from.
Assistants paternity suits.
Child support.
Yeah. Oh, magicians try to escape
Alimony
from-
payments.
Yes, that is definitely number 7.
In the case of Roy, tigers.
Tigers. Oh, too soon.
Is it though?
Always too soon. Nick, the guess is to
Honestly,
you.
Oh, jeez. Like a water tank.
Water tank is on the list.
Solid.
Number 3.
Oh.
Jesus,
Ooh,
what
Nick
the hell?
has the upper hand, passing it back to Jacob.
So we've used water tank, straitjacket, and
handcuffs, and
handcuffs.
straitjacket. Numbers 1, 2, and 6 still on the board.
Okay, let's see here. I will guess. Oh, man, escape from.
Remember, it is only 2 strikes to be eliminated from the game. Well, from the round.
Yeah. Huh. I don't know. Sad thing is, I know a lot more about magicians than I did about any of the other categories.
Yeah.
You've met a few. Yeah. This is what do magicians try to escape from?
I mean, I've already given all of my real answers.
Straitjacket, handcuff, water tank.
Alimony, child support. I will say, how about a glass coffin?
That is very specific.
Yeah. Or just
Sure you
coffin?
wanna do that?
Or just go coffin?
Let him go with it.
All right, fine.
I'll
Sorry.
go coffin.
Not
Fucking
trying to
do
talk him out of it.
Steve
That's right.
Harvey wouldn't do that.
That's right.
I'll go coffin.
You can't see all the faces I'm making, audience, but they were very Steve Harvey-esque. Carvin, show us coffin. Nope, that's
No?
double
All right.
X's.
I'm out.
This could be your chance, Tangeman. It's spelling
He's
bee
out.
rules. No, you still got to get one to survive, right?
You didn't say that.
We would have accepted cage as number 6, chains as number 2, and the number 1 answer, trunk.
Ha.
Box was right there, but it was called a trunk.
All right.
I would have. Okay.
The judges.
No, all right.
I mean, I guess
instructed
when I
me
heard box, I was
that you
thinking
could
trunk.
both
But
go
okay.
fuck
I was
yourself.
All right. Yeah.
Yeah, it's weird. It's almost like you guys have made fun of the judges for 6 years, and they just didn't give a fuck. So, I hope you both lose.
Yeah, I'm sure this won't backfire in any way.
Dealing with delusions from Plebeian
Yeah, I know
J.
somebody who's dealing with fucking delusions.
You know what? You're out of the game. That's it. Now you lose. Now you don't get any points. No mysterious prize.
What am I going to do with myself?
Yeah, I don't know. I hope you take a long look in the mirror. That's what I hope happens. Dealing with delusions from Plebeian J. Hey, y'all.
Oh, this is a nice mirror.
This mirror is delicious. Hey, y'all. Got what might be a softball question today. Is there any best practice for interacting with someone expressing delusions? I have some vague memories of TV or movie psychologists insisting that you should deny a delusion every step of the way and that anything short of that is harmful. Is this just a movie trope? At my job, I interact with people who are sometimes on strong medications, and delusions do come up regularly. The most common is one who has told me people across the country are stealing things from their room and that the police returned them, i.e. lost keys later found behind a desk, Police were never on property. Once a resident insisted someone was spraying chemicals in their room, an accusation they've made to residents and staff for years, and got agitated when I refused to enter their property to taste test the air during COVID lockdowns. For context, I'm security at a sort of one-stop shop for social services, addiction treatment, homeless outreach, etc., with some residents living on property. Whenever these come up, I just make note of them or tell caseworkers directly they may want to check in sooner rather than later. I don't play along with those delusions when they come up, but I try to take the path of least resistance by telling them I haven't seen anything, I'll keep an eye out, that they should be fine, and to check in with caseworkers during office hours. Interactions like those come up a couple of times a month. Was wondering if there's an actual playbook for when these happen. Are the TV and movie therapists scolding people for not denying every step of the way just BS? Thanks for everything, as always. Plebe and J, pronouns are he and him.
That's a good question.
That is a good question.
I don't know. So my immediate answer to that, I'd have to think about this a little bit more, but my immediate response to that would be it would depend on my relationship and how well I know this individual.
I think you're right.
Because I think if it's somebody that I've been working with for a while and we've kind of established that rapport and I'm able to push back and they're willing to listen to me, then I think I start challenging a lot of those delusions.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so the police were in your room. Did you see them? Mm-hmm. Who did you talk to? Which police? Did you have a name? Do you have a badge number? You know, maybe you can kind of push back on that a little bit. But if it's somebody I don't know and I've got no experience with and I have no idea how they're going to react to being challenged about their delusions, I don't know as if that's a button I'm willing to push.
Right.
I think your approach to just not buy into it, but also not fight it and just kind of be completely neutral and also just non-reactionary.
Yeah.
You know, I definitely wouldn't be like, oh my God, and just have a reaction like that. And I also wouldn't be like, shut up, you did not.
Right.
I think just kind of having that completely neutral reaction as if they told you that they saw the new Napoleon movie and they didn't like it. Mm-hmm. Just kind of that reaction of just like, okay.
Yeah.
And then you just take it in, you roll with it, and then you report it to whoever has to deal with that person's therapist.
It was a terrible
caseworker,
movie, and I
whatever.
don't know why we're not accepting this. Like you're the weird one for not seeing what I see. But
you know what? I don't even know what movie you're talking about. I've never heard of
it exists.
Napoleon.
I was there.
Does
I
it
walked
though?
out of it. I walked out of it halfway through. The
You
sex
sure?
was awkward.
Did anybody see you go to the theater?
No, I was by myself.
Oh,
I was also
interesting.
drunk,
Interesting.
So I don't know
Okay,
how relevant that
interesting.
is to the story. No, I agree with you completely. I think that this is a really good case in point of knowing what your role is in the organization, right? And so if you are one of the assisting staff, security, techs, your role is brief and de-escalation, right? It's to briefly intervene and to de-escalate. So the person says, oh my gosh, I'm so glad you're here. You're security. Somebody's been robbing my room. People from all over the world are in on it. And, you know, I think that they wait for me to leave and then they come secretly put it back. We have to ask, what is the maximum amount of good that you're going to achieve in the 5-minute interaction you have with this person? And what is your purpose on this floor? Like, what is your purpose here? I am here to make sure that nobody gets hurt, nobody has anything obvious stolen, and nobody goes missing, right? And so you're coming to me. I would like you to continue to have faith in all the people wearing security apparel like me. I would like you to cooperate with us and get along. So I think exactly what you just said, Nick. I'm going to take the path of saying, oh, wow, thank you for telling me about that. I'll follow up. Thanks for letting me know. And you might think, well, wait, Jim, you're indulging their delusion. You're de-escalating. You're telling this person, thank you for telling me about this. You're not confronting them. You're not ignoring them. You're not insulting them. You're also not trying to do therapy right now.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Nick and I have both worked at a program where we had a significant number of residents that had very severe delusions. And in some cases, medication was very helpful. In some cases, it was unresponsive. And in all those situations, I think our approach historically, and Nick, you know, correct me if I'm off here, but I think what we would do is step one, we would invite people to share. And there was no correction in the beginning. in part because then they will not tell you anything
Yeah,
else.
yeah.
And I would like you
yep.
to fully divulge, because you're going to start by telling me something like, sometimes I feel like I'm being watched. And if I dismiss that out of hand, you're not going to get to the part where you tell me the stars are satellites and they're watching me. It's the United States government. It's particularly the FDA, or whatever. I want you to get to that further explanation. So in the beginning, I think our point is, like you said, Nick, very neutral. I think we take a position of curiosity. I think we try to show respect for the person. We don't ask questions that are condescending, and we don't ask questions like a Sherlock Holmes novel where we're trying to help them realize that they're idiots or like Socratically back them into a corner. We just say, okay, when did you feel that way? Well, this and that. Okay, did you say that there was something you noticed? Yeah, this guy, he seems a little shady. I think that he doesn't. Okay, well, that's Larry. And so we will gently correct when we need to. Again, a therapist perspective on this. This isn't the role of some of the support staff, but what the therapist is going to be doing. We will gently correct as needed. So like, let's say, and this is a perfect example. We've had patients that have come in, and maybe I'm meeting with them one-on-one, and they do say something like, one of your staff, I think works for the government. I don't think he really worked. Junior. I think Junior works for the government. I think I've seen him before. I think he works for the FBI. I think I saw him once. And like, okay, I don't want to indulge that at all, because that could be a safety risk to our staff.
Right.
And that's not good that so in that situation, I'll be really receptive and say, oh yeah, I can see why you'd think that. He does kind of have that look. Actually, I've known him for about 10 years and we've worked together a bunch. And no, he grew up in, Miami, and then he lived in LA. He's in long-term recovery for drugs, and he's actually doing really well. And he really cares about you, man. He really likes you a lot. He was just telling me the other day that you made him laugh, and, just so you know, okay? But I get it. I understand why you still feel a little nervous around him. I hope that over time you'll get to know him better and that will go away. So I'm leaving room for, I get why you feel that way. I'm not dismissing it out of hand, because that doesn't work with delusions. If you do that, they don't go, oh, you're right, I was wrong. They don't do that. Like they just, you're now part of it. Like you're telling me that because obviously you guys work together, right? And you're part of the FBI too. So
well, and I think the more emotional you get, it reinforces their belief, because oh, you're really fighting.
You seem really defensive. Yeah. Which most humans would be like, oh, I don't know. Why are you all upset about this? Like, if I said, oh, are you dating this girl? Like, what are you talking about? We're not dating. We're just friends. Like, okay. Like, you clearly have a thing.
But
so
I'm thinking,
those are situations where we'll redirect.
And here's the thing too. Like, I'm also thinking like, okay, so let's say we were back working at that program. Yeah. It was a facility where we had your clients could come and go as they please. They had apartments and whatever, but they lived there. But they had some serious mental health diagnoses. And if Plebeian J was working for us, and he was dealing with an individual that was having delusions, calls us in, and he's having a conversation with this person as we are on our way into the office to deal with the situation. I don't want him making things worse. Like, I don't want him to challenge and just be like, nope, that's not true. Nope, you're lying. Because by the time I get there to put out that fire, not only am I dealing with the person's delusions, but now I'm also dealing with a crisis situation because they're reacting to it. I think the best thing that you can do is, like I said, you're just receptive. Yeah. Hey, thanks for telling me. You're taking in the information. You're not validating it. You don't have to say, yes, you're right. You don't have to validate it. You also don't have to fight it. Yeah. You're there just to keep the peace until the therapist can get in and deal with the situation.
Yeah, I mean, you bring up a good scenario, Plebeian J, about like the person that says, I believe that my room has poisoned air and I'm scared, and could you do like a sniff check? I can appreciate your perspective on that, where you're like, shoot, I don't know what the right thing to do is, right? Yeah, because if I go in here and I say, hey, I just went in and I smelt around, it seems normal to me, that would be a form of de-escalation. And I don't think that's indulging the fantasy. I think that's, if somebody says, do you think I left the gas on? Can you come in and check? Like, okay. So I think that there's a middle ground there, but I can appreciate how there's an example, and there's many other examples of where you get so close to like indulging it as a part of de-escalating it, and you're not sure what to do. But this is where you reference what you've seen on TV, where they always challenge it. That is not what we do. We do not always challenge it. And this is why real psychotherapy is extremely boring and wouldn't ever actually be good television or good anything because it's not dramatic. We tend to take paths of de-escalation and friendliness. We tend to play the long game. We don't have an intervention with every person this delusional individual has known where we, challenge their raw views of life. We slowly build trust with the person. And we encourage them, and this is where, I think you and I have both used this method with delusional patients. We try to incorporate CBT, but we do that by role modeling it. And so as they're talking to us, we'll talk about how to challenge our guesses and our thoughts and say, yeah, I remember smelling something once and also being afraid that maybe there was a gas leak or maybe something like that. So I understand where you're coming from. But I guess we also need to right-size this because, it's not normal for toxic fumes to end up in our rooms. That would be really unusual. But I'm glad you're talking about it because I don't want you to be afraid of that. That would be such a tough way to spend your night. That must have been really uncomfortable for you. So, we're dripping the idea of here's what it would sound like to challenge your assumption while also leaving lots of room for you're a great person. I relate to you. I normalize some of your feelings. And we're talking as two grown-ups, just measuring out our world. That's long-term, slow and subtle therapy. We don't come crashing in and going, no, you're wrong. Look at me, John. There are no aliens in the, stars. That's not real. There are no satellites. This is a picture from NASA of what the stars actually look like. They're balls of gas. They're millions of miles. We don't do that.
Well, and the other thing, too, to think about is unless you're one of the lucky people who get delusions that are positive.
Right.
That you have special powers.
Delusions
or that
of grandeur. Yeah, everything's great.
Unless you're one of those, for the most part, these delusions are scary.
Yeah, they're terrifying.
And so for those individuals, it is very fearful. It's a scary situation. So just having somebody there who can empathize and kind of de-escalate that situation. And going back to the example of kind of the taste testing the air in the room or whatever, this is where I like to go back to my favorite saying, which is that the best predictor of future behavior is past behavior. If you know this individual, you can kind of ask yourself this question: will this, if I go in and I do this, will this help de-escalate the individual?
Right.
Or could this escalate the situation and make things worse? Could this start an argument? Or is it better for me to deal with this individual now and say, nope, you know what? We've had this before. I think you're okay. I realize it's scary, but you're going to be all right.
Now,
and you kind of make that determination based off of your history and what you know about that individual.
And reading the person's situation.
Yeah.
Now, as much as I think we're leaning toward be non-directive, don't confront, gently de-escalate, defer, kick down the road, let another person come in. I have seen a situation where the mistake was actually made by being a little too indulgent and a little too acquiescing to the delusion of the patient. And so, and I've told the story before on the show, but we did have a situation once in this program where there was a gentleman whose delusions were getting worse and worse and worse. And he had confided in me that he did believe one of our staff members was in on it, was like part of a mafia that was out to get him. And so this gentleman had never shown any tendencies toward violence. He just seemed really skittish. And I had warned the staff member, hey, he's nervous about you. He is misunderstanding. He thinks you're part of like a cabal that's out to get him. You need to give him space because I need time. I need time to work this case. Don't try to like win hearts and minds and help him or like whatever. And, we had come up with I had failed to do enough safety planning with my staff member. And so in this situation, one night I get a call at like 1 a.m. The staff member is being held at knife point in the patient's apartment bathroom. And the cops are at the facility and they're calling me in to like hostage negotiate to get this guy out of here. So in that situation, I call the staff member and the patient allows the staff member to answer the phone. And I'm like, hey, are you there right now? And he's like, yep. And I'm like, can so-and-so hear me? Yep. Great. Let me talk to both of you guys, like trying to make sure this is out in the open. Hey, we're all here. We're all friends, that kind of thing. And I'm trying to like get the staff member to understand what I want them to do in the situation. But the reason they had gotten in that situation is because they were being so jolly and friendly and not being weary of like, I'm going to need to take this delusion seriously, that they allowed themselves to go too far into this person's house. And then all of a sudden the delusion took over.
Right.
And unfortunately the person did have a weapon. And so everything came out fine. We were able to get this guy out of there. Everything was fine. But in that situation, obviously, I don't think the staff member should have confronted the delusion necessarily, because I don't think that would have done any better. But there was a failure to take that delusion the right amount of serious. And I think we were just poo-pooing it and being like, oh, it'll just pass. Just be friendly with them. No, in that case, you need to stop being friendly with them and start giving them space. And that's a form of confrontation of a delusion. It's avoidance, right? But the intervention should have changed there. And unfortunately, I didn't read it right. None of us did. And honestly, that staff member should not have been alone with that patient in their own apartment with the door closed. Like, that was a mistake.
Yeah.
They just thought, it'll be fine. It's like, nah, it might not be, so give them space. But, Plebe and Jay, you're working a really interesting job. And, I think that I like that you're approaching these cases with a lot of intention, sincerity. You're being kind. You're humanizing them. You're trying to de-escalate and just give them the support that they need to just kind of get through that moment. And I think you're handling it exactly right. I wouldn't want you being any more directive, any more confrontational. I don't think I've never met a delusional person that suddenly and abruptly realized the truth because you pointed it out.
Yeah.
Said, oh no, those aren't satellites. Those are just balls of burning hydrogen gas. And they went, oh, thank you. I'm going to go get a full-time job now. Like, no, like they have a disease, man. If it's not this, it'll be the next thing. So
yeah, I mean, oftentimes it's medication.
Medications. It's going to be antipsychotics.
We remember we had a patient too that was very religious.
Oh yeah, that one. Yeah.
And we had issues with her taking a shower or eating.
Yeah.
Because she would hear voices that were telling her that the shower handle was Jesus's penis.
Yeah. Now that's psychosis.
Yeah.
Right.
Oh, yeah. Delusion. That's different.
Step up from delusion, but she also had pretty big delusions too.
Yeah.
Where she believed she was being watched all the time and things like that. And that was terrible. I mean,
that
she had
was
a situation. She couldn't look in the mirror.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because she would visualize demons crawling out of her skin.
Yeah.
So medication, right?
Yeah.
That was the only way to solve that. And delusions often need that. And this is a great time to PSA the topic of delusions, because I do think it's important. If you're out there and you experience really intense paranoia and fear, and you sometimes find yourself wrestling with interpretations of reality that sound really not true to other people and cause you a great amount of distress. We gave a few examples. Stars are real. You see them in the night sky. That patient was not hallucinating stars. They were misunderstanding what those lights probably were. And they totally mentally understood the concept of stars, but they had this deep fear that really those could be satellites and that they are being watched, and that every van passing by was an FBI van listening to them or even listening to their thoughts. We've seen all sorts of variations of this, but delusions are usually going to have a paranoia component to it. But you know what? We made light of it, but we should take a second to talk about this too. There are also such things as delusions of grandeur, where a person augments and exaggerates their own powers and believes that they are extremely special and unique and profoundly important in the world.
Take it from me. This is kind of nice, actually.
It's a good feeling, but obviously,
if I had to pick my delusions,
can cause them to walk right into some
because
trouble.
honestly, this delusion is not inconvenient for you. It sucks for everybody around you.
Sure. It's a thing. So, but again, delusions are untrue interpretations of your reality. You're not adding to that reality. You're not hearing or seeing things that aren't there. So,
and Jim, what if Plebe J gets your just in case just get this insurance policy out here? What if Plebe J confuses your advice and instead of de-escalating and briefing, accidentally escalates and debriefs?
Yeah. You do not want to disrobe the patient. I think that's usually. Now, again, I don't know your policies.
You've probably taken a wrong step at some point.
You want to double back.
If you find yourself debriefing the patient,
you've gone too far.
You may have messed up.
Yeah, you took a left in St. Louis. You probably don't want to do that. So do not debrief the patients, please. But yeah, great question, and always love these kinds of questions from people that are at a ground level of a higher acuity population and facility, because I think that really gives us a chance to talk a little bit more about maybe things that we don't see commonly at the outpatient level. So Great question, and hopefully useful for everybody to hear. We are going to take another quick break, and when we come back, we're going to talk about when to burst someone's bubble, if you know what I mean. You're listening to Pod Therapy After Dark.
Today's episode is brought to you by Smitty Scoop, Nathan's Hot Dog Scoop, Mason Miller, Tess Miller, Byler T, Paris, Team Monaco, Oscar Swanrose, and Hannah Marie. And if you would like to sponsor the show, become a therapy producer at patreon.com/therapy.
All right, losers. Let's see if you can do better now.
All right.
Next category. Who starts this one?
I think I do.
All right. I like your assertive character there. You know what? You're going to be rewarded.
All right.
Yeah. Name something.
Thank you, Steve.
Yeah. You're welcome. Name something you...
Steve Harvey voice.
Come on, man. I barely touched it.
Back up just a little bit here.
It was a very light accent. Come on. All right. Name something you might rent on a sunny day.
I'll go for the obvious one, Steve.
Okay.
I'll say movie.
Might rent a movie on a sunny
Might rent a
day.
movie.
Survey says, bing, number 5.
Oh, all right.
Movie. I like it. Renting a movie on a sunny day. I miss movie rental places.
I'll say a boat.
Yeah, that was my other guess.
That is number 1. Sandsman coming in.
Nice.
Taking this
Well
one.
done.
Name a word that can follow tongue.
Tongues of fun.
Yeah. A tongue of cargo.
That will follow.
Name a word that follows the word tongue.
Okay.
I mean, if it follows, that would imply that tongue is a verb.
You just be listing off parts of the mouth.
Yeah.
Tongue teeth.
You just be teeth. Lips.
I'm thinking of this
These can be words or phrases that follow tongue.
tongue in cheek.
Oh, good one.
Survey says, bing, number 2, tongue in cheek.
All right, Steve, I'm going to go depressor.
Bing, number 5, tongue depressor. Very solid guesses on this one.
Tongue ring.
Oh, that's a good one.
That is a solid one. Survey says, and what an idiot.
What? Oh,
Yeah, the
no.
survey said that. That's weird how it insulted you. Yeah, no, it is not on here because you're stupid. All right, Jacob.
Jesus.
We've got in cheek and depressor off the board. Numbers 1, 3, 4, and 6 still alive.
I'm going to get, I think the American population are perverts, Steve. So I'm going to say kissing. Tongue kissing.
Is on the board at number 6.
I'll take it.
Comes in late, but it is on there. Depressor and kiss is 5 and 6. Number, what'd you get, Nick?
2.
Number 2, in cheek. All right, numbers 1 and 3 and 4 still alive. That glorious gold trophy still available.
Oh, I know what number 1 is.
I'm sitting here with my eyes closed trying to think of what to...
And the best part for the podcast is he's doing it quietly.
I know.
Yes,
I'm
that
trying.
really
I
does
can't.
help.
I
It's such a
can't
great
think and
audio
talk
show.
at the same time.
Really
That's
bad
the hard
for
part
you.
about
Why
the
are you a
quiz show
podcaster
aspect
then?
of this show.
I know.
You picked the wrong
I didn't say I
job.
was good at it. Oh my god!
I'm going to count down from 5 in my head. And that's a second
I got
strike.
nothing.
Going to Jacob for the win.
I believe the answer is tongue punch in the fart box.
Oh, number 1.
Yes!
It is
Tongue
not.
punch in the fart box. We would have accepted tongue lashing,
Uh-huh.
tongue twister,
Oh.
and the gold standard
twister.
tongue tied.
Tongue-tied.
Tongue-tied is
Yes.
what that was
Yeah.
going to be my guess.
That-
Last category. When
I forgot I didn't
is
have to
the-
guess that you got it wrong.
Yep. When is the worst day to break up with your partner?
July 8th.
Nailed it.
Yep.
Number 1. Who's number 1? Who starts on this
Nick.
one?
Jacob does. No,
No, I
'cause
started tongue, didn't I?
No, you started the first one. I got the second one.
Was
Or
tongue not the
third
first one?
correct.
No.
Oh,
You
okay.
started the first category. Yep. So
I forgot what
worst
the first
day
category
to break
was.
up with your partner.
I'm going to say their birthday.
Survey says number 2.
Oh,
birthday.
Then there's
silver medal.
There's only one day that can be number 1.
Ramadan.
Oh, that is not a day, sir.
That's true. Anytime during there.
Valentine's Day.
That's it.
Survey says
Gotta be.
Bing, gold standard.
Yeah.
Valentine's Day. We also would have accepted wedding day. That's a pretty fucked up one.
Oh, like wedding day or anniversary?
Anniversary also.
Oh, that's
on
also
the
on
list.
there.
Christmas and the weekend for whatever reason.
Okay.
The weekend.
You don't want to ruin somebody's weekend.
I think if you're going to break up somebody on a Friday, probably tasteful. That way they can start moving on Saturday.
I
Have
Monday
time to
morning.
schedule
I
a
think
date.
Monday
morning.
Yeah.
You break them up on a Monday?
I think Monday while they're on their way to work.
Yep.
No, because now you're fucking up their work week,
Via
man.
text.
Yeah.
Via fax.
To whom
They'll
it
be
may
at
concern.
their desk when they get to
Oh,
work.
there it is. That
So
is
everyone
the
in the
move.
office already knows.
That is a great idea. That is exactly how it should be done. When to burst someone's bubble.
Tongue
from
punch in
Adam
the fart box.
Rabiznik.
Just wanted to say that again.
Dear Pod Therapy
I
folks.
used to know how to sign that in sign language.
Tongue punch in the fart
Yeah.
box. That is a very useful thing to have learned.
Yep.
0% regret.
It'd be handy right now.
I think it would be. Dear Pod Therapy folks, I live in Connecticut, and my parents are in their 70s and live in Florida. My mom was recently diagnosed with stage 4 lung cancer that has spread to her brain.
Oh, sorry to hear that.
Yeah, man, that's terrible. I researched her specific cancer and found that it is terminal with a prognosis of 6 months to 5 years. I've mostly come to terms with this, but I'm not sure if my father has. He keeps saying things like, "We're going to beat this," and "when the cancer is gone." The reality is that this cancer can't be beaten, and it will never be gone. The treatment goals for this type of cancer are to prolong life and keep up the quality of life as best as possible. I'm not sure if my father knows and is keeping a stiff upper lip for my mother, or if he truly believes she can be cured. If I ask my dad what he really thinks, I won't get an honest answer. We don't share feelings in my family, and my dad would want to be strong for me, even if he does understand that this cancer will kill my mother eventually. I'm afraid that if my father doesn't realize this, it will add to the devastation when my mother finally does die. How can I find out what he's really thinking? And if he really does believe she can be cured, how do I convince him of the reality of the situation? Do I even need to do that? Thanks for any help you can give. I also look forward to the most tasteless jokes Jacob can come up with about my mom dying.
Oh, she doesn't have a tongue either?
Oh, I will appreciate the humor
'Cause she
and
can't
can
taste.
always use a good laugh. Cancer is a 4-letter word. Fuck cancer. Adam Rabiznik.
Wow, Adam, I'm sorry to hear that.
I'm sorry, buddy.
That's tough.
That is awful.
I think I've just got this one.
All right, bud.
Oh,
Take it.
My mom has cancer.
Yeah.
A lot of people in my family have died of cancer. A lot of my friends have died of cancer. For right or wrong, better or worse, I think your dad's attitude is the only attitude that he can possibly have.
Yeah.
And I also, by the way, I think it's the only attitude that your mom can possibly have.
Yeah.
If you, I had a friend, a close friend that we've known for a little over a decade, just died. We haven't even talked about it on the show yet, but he just died a couple of weeks ago of cancer. And he kind of had more of the attitude that you are talking about. He had more of a this cancer is going to kill me type of attitude.
Yeah.
And that caused him in many ways to waste away more quickly
Yeah.
than he would have otherwise. Because I think there is something to when you give up, it's just done.
Yeah.
When you accept that the cancer is going to kill you, then it's just kind of over at that time.
Right.
You can't really talk about other things. It's very difficult. Movies, and I mean, some people are able to do this. There are stories of people who are able to do this for real, but it happens a lot in film. It's kind of that bucket list type thing. Somebody says, "Oh, I'm going to die of this cancer, so now I'm going to live my remaining days to their fullest."
Right.
That isn't the case in most instances that I've ever been around. When that person accepts that this is inevitable and they are going to die from this, life just kind of stops.
Yeah.
Also, my mom was diagnosed in 2005. And in 2005, she was given a few months to live.
Wow.
So like I got the call one day, and it was, I have, it's a long story, but her cancer, it started in her lungs. It was in several other organs as well. And the call I got one day was, hey, mom's got 3 to 6 months to live.
Yeah.
This is it. This is done. And then some things happened. She ended up getting into an experimental treatment program down at MD Anderson in Houston. And they have been able to extend her life. And she is still alive today at the end of 2023.
Wow.
And seems to be doing well. She's down a lung, and there's some other stuff that's happened in the interim. So she's not in... her entire body is no longer there. All the organs that she started with just they're not in her body anymore. But the point is, like, she didn't give up. She didn't take that death sentence as a literal death sentence, and it may still kill her. That she may die from something else. It may still, she may still die from this cancer. She goes in and deals with that fairly regularly. But I just don't know what else you can do. My big advice to anybody whenever they are diagnosed with cancer is you have to fight it. You have to believe that you can fight it and that you can win over that, and that you'll just go on living, because as soon as you give up, you've given up.
Right.
And that's it. And then as far as your dad, being concerned about your dad when your mom does finally pass away from this, or from anything else, I suppose, that's going to be huge no matter what.
There is no...
That's kind of what I was thinking. It's like...
Yeah. Like
I get,
even if this makes it a little bit worse, it's already horrible.
Well, yeah, and I was kind of thinking that too. What Adam's question is like, well, this is going to set him up for even a greater disappointment. But I was kind of thinking the same thing. Like, well, how would we know?
Right,
because disappointment is going to be huge.
Right.
On a scale from 0 to 10, it's going to be 10.
You're worried about lead poisoning right now when you've been shot.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
That's what this is. Like this is a small thing. And I mean, guys, tell me what you think about this. Adam, what I'm concerned about there is I'm concerned that you are being concerned about your dad and not dealing with it yourself. So you may or may not be, that may or may not be the case. But if that's the case, if you think that may be the case, then I mean, because this is huge. It's your mom.
Yeah.
And I know exactly the feelings that you're going through here. That's tough. I wouldn't worry about that part of it.
No.
Your dad, if your dad's putting on a strong face for you and or your mom, then that's what he's going to do.
And it gives him something to do.
Yeah.
I mean, sometimes when
your attitude is the one thing that you have power over in this situation.
You know who said exactly that? Viktor Frankl in Man's Search for Meaning. And that was exactly the scenario that he was portraying whenever he told his story about surviving Auschwitz. And he talked about how in the face of certain death, you find something to live for. And that is the only way that you can survive and stay sane. And for many of the prisoners, that would be the decision is I'm going to be strong for Larry, the guy next to me. And I'm going to take care of Larry, and I'm going to give him the crust of my bread, and I'm going to help.
And meanwhile, Larry's doing the same thing for somebody else.
Right. And you know what? Is it hopeless? It is. It is Auschwitz, right? You're not dumb. You see what's happening. You know that any given moment, that's going to be your day.
And the hope, though, is not a false hope either.
It's not.
Because every now and then,
slim hope.
The Allies show up at the gates and bring everybody out of Auschwitz.
And so
every now and then, somebody beats the odds on these things, and it is seemingly miraculous.
And it is
when it does
relatively harmless to believe in it, because Jacob's right. I mean, the difference between the devastating disappointment of losing your partner or the devastating disappointment of losing your partner when you hoped that wouldn't happen are measured in inches.
Yes.
They are both the pit of hell. One is 1 degree cooler.
Yeah.
but don't worry, they're all going to melt lead.
Right.
And so at that point, it doesn't matter. And so if in the meantime, this gives somebody the energy to survive the terrible hell they are going through, the slimmest odds of hope, or if they know that there is no hope, but they're choosing to portray hope for the person they love so that that person can embrace the sweet delusion of possibility, good. Because every hour they get back from that, as Jacob said, Jacob, you nailed it. I mean, I really wouldn't. And another thing I think that we need to appreciate here too, the relationship the oncologist has to this couple, because oncologists are no strangers to this.
No.
And they strategically elect to allow people to have hope if they feel that is serving the case and improving some of the goals. And, and Adam, you identified what the goals usually are. Improve quality of life and prolong quality of life. There's nothing about this delusional hope that is antithetical to those goals. In fact, it may be one of the strongest components of those goals. And that may be what the oncologist is looking at and saying, yeah, good. And they're probably pointing out some silver linings to even aid and abet some of that hopefulness.
Yep.
There was a case just the other day in Australia that somebody actually ended up doing really well with some new experiments coming out. Anyway, I'll see you guys next week for the next appointment. And they're probably just allowing people to hope and believe.
Yeah.
So I agree with you. I think that that's the only way forward. And I don't think you need to take on the burden of bursting a bubble. I think that these good people are allowed the dignity of this experience and to hope all the way to the finish line. And then afterward, you come in and you comfort your father.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's the best thing that you can do is not try to convince your dad, not try to burst his bubble, not try to change his mind, but just send the message to him, both verbally or through your actions, that you're there for him.
Yeah.
And that you will be there for him when and if this happens, and that he will be there for you when it happens. So,
and as a father, he may try to speak to you and your siblings and give you hope. And that can be hard to listen to.
Yeah.
Because, he may come to you and say, Adam, I was just reading this article, or I want you to read this thing. I emailed it to you. I think it could be really helpful. Mom and I are going to ask the oncologist about it. And that can be hard for you to read because your coping skill with this was acceptance. Your grieving process went through denial, through negotiating, through anger, through depression, and you've gotten a lot closer to acceptance. Your father's clearly more in those other buckets of denial and negotiating, right? And still holding on to hope. And again, these are predictable boxes that we expect as part of the healthy grieving process. That can be hard for you to listen to. But to your best ability, Adam, what I'd want you to do in that situation is just to receive it and say, hey, Dad, thanks for sending this to me. I'll read it over. That's really great news.
That's it.
And that's it. And you don't have to fan the flame. If he wants to talk and it's good and healthy and cathartic or encouraging for him to just talk about positives, talk about hope, talk about any shining light that he found in this darkness, all you have to do is just hear that and go, yeah, that's awesome news, man. And, if he's like, well, you don't seem excited. You don't seem like you're believing it. Dad, it's just a really heavy thing. It's heavy no matter what, but I'm with you. I'm hoping against hope.
And also just, hey, Dad, I'm just scared.
I'm just scared.
Yeah. That's it. That's fine.
Yeah, and it's okay for us to be.
Yep, it sure is. All that being said, I would say maybe for the holidays this year. The holidays have already happened, I think, as you're listening to this. So hopefully you bought your mom just a few copies of a magazine and not a year-long subscription.
There's the joke.
Yeah.
There's the joke. And Adam, you invited it.
Yeah.
You brought that to yourself.
That was just for you, Adam.
That was for you.
Yeah.
Oh, boy.
The great advice.
Only pod therapy.
The great advice that Jacob gives, that's a bonus.
Yeah.
We didn't bring him on for that.
No. That's here. That's here. That's
magazine subscription
That's
jokes.
what we brought him on for.
Current magazine subscription jokes.
There it is. These are the ones. Adam, really sorry about this.
Yeah, sorry to hear that.
But what a good question. And I think just a lot of humans wrestle with very similar things in all sorts of scenarios. And so it really gives us a chance to be a part of this. And, Adam, I know that you dip from time to time into the Discord. But, and patrons who listen to this and who are on the Discord, you know what to do in this situation. Let's just be a good community. Let's be there for our friend. And, just be available, man. And if you ever just need to talk about it, you know which channels to use. But we're all here for you and rooting for you, and it's a tough situation, but you're not alone. So
No, you're certainly not. A lot of people have gone through what you're going through. I've gone through what you're going through, and it's really shitty. There are certain things that you talk about acceptance. The things that I would encourage you to try to accept are that there are some things in this case that you, your dad, your mom, none of you can do anything about it. So focus on the things that you can work on. Focus on taking this time and making as much time special as you can. And that's the biggest piece of advice I can give you on that.
good advice. All right, buddy. We're there for you if you ever want to reach out to us and update us on things. But thank you for the question, man, and be strong and fuck cancer for sure. As we wrap up the show, we want to remind you all that you can sign up at patreon.com/therapy, and you can grab the extra extended show ad-free a day earlier. And very importantly, as we just talked about, you can jump into our live chat Discord community and be a part of that with us, which is a lot of fun and really just real life, so it's awesome. Don't forget, you can also get those weekly deep dives, interviews, skill shares, research roundups, and rants, all at patreon.com/therapy. This episode was recorded a bit in advance on December 19th. So when you are hearing
Which is why I'm still making Christmas present jokes.
This is true. And also, we should have announced that on the last episode.
Up your game.
Yeah. We should have pointed this out on the last episode. But if you signed up on the Patreon anytime after December 19th, you would not have heard us acknowledge that last episode or this episode because time. But we do want to thank our existing Thera partners, Dirty B, Myra, and Pickett, and our bosses, the mysterious and shrouded Illuminati members of the fan club, the Thera producers. Thank you, Jake Schneider, Robert Brownie Jr. Mint, Smitty Scoop, Ben Dawn, Judy Schneider, Kayla Lansbury, Mrs. and Mr. Hot Dog Scoop, Malia, Leon Kassab, Mason Miller, Richard Macy, Carolyn Albert, Kevin Chamberlain, Tess Miller, Sammy Scoop, Ben Stanley Slappin' Ya Face, Sarah Smith, Adam Hathaway, Byler T, University Jeff, Mike Helm, Paris, Samantha Cohn, Darren Cunningham, Lib, Team Monaco, Thunder Cougar Falcon Scoop, Matt and Lisa Tangeman, Heyo, Oscar Swanrose, A Sunny Boy, Serpicaye Motherfucker, Sandra McWaffle, Dan Martin, and Hannah Marie. And before you bring up that last point, Nick, because it is the first couple of weeks of the new year, if you are a patron or you were a patron in December, you might just want to log in and double check things. A lot of people's accounts like auto cancel at the end of the year. And so you don't want to miss out on those benefits. You don't want to have an interruption. So just maybe log into your Patreon and just make sure everything's tidy and working as you expect it to.
Mm-hmm. Good point. And if you'd like to hear this episode uncut and unedited.
And why wouldn't you?
Yeah, why wouldn't you?
Enjoy our... We went this whole time never mentioning Whitney. Did you realize that?
Oh, we never said on the show that she wasn't here?
No, we did in the last episode.
Once again, I think I said it in the last episode. Or maybe it was just on Patreon. But yeah, maybe, she was sitting here. She's here.
Yeah.
She's here.
Judgment.
Very quiet.
Silent judgment.
Very upset.
Whitney, what'd you think?
She's got those scowling
Fine.
eyes.
Okay.
Wow, she's flipped you off.
Yeah.
Jesus.
Yeah.
Patreon.com/therapy. And thank you for supporting mental health.
That's all the time we got for this week's session. I want to thank our landlords, Matt Mattingly's Ice Cream Social Podcast. And thanks to those of you who contributed to our show today. We do appreciate it. Remember, Pod Therapy isn't something to keep all to yourself. Share this episode with the world. Tag us on the socials when you do. It's at PodTherapyGuys on Twitter, Threads, and Instagram, /PodTherapy on Facebook. And don't forget about all the extra goodies at patreon.com/therapy.
And do you want to submit a question to the show? Ask anonymously at podtherapy.net or email us at podtherapyguys@gmail.com. I'm Nick Tangeman.
I'm Whitney.
Thanks, and we'll see you for your appointment next week.
Bow, bow, bow. All right, last one. You guys want a piece of this?
All right, go.
For redemption. Let's go. Nope, that's not it. Name something in your life you might not have if it wasn't for your spouse.
An erection.